Hi guys, how are we all doing? So today we're actually at a house that unfortunately isn't in my portfolio, but it's actually in an investor's portfolio. So I'm going to show you it around, show you what sort of the typical finish I like to do in these houses are, and the typical finish we go for, or well, I go for when I'm working with investors. An interesting sort of play with this investor was that while sort of the rental yield is important to them, they're actually looking to hold this over a long term, and their portfolio is going to be more about looking for capital appreciation over the long term. So we'll talk about some of the nuances in that there throughout the video, but yeah, let's go on in and show you inside what it's like. So when you enter the house, I think it's always really important, first impressions. Curb appeal is always really important, and sort of the first impressions of the overall house is really important. So we always want something clean, bright, little bit of sort of things that catch the eye that makes it look good. So all those little elements are really important, particularly for this type of house, which is going to be sort of for the higher end of the market, which is always those type of little things which people are going to notice. If they're paying more, they deserve that little bit more. So you can see all nice, clean finish, bright area. You want to come in here, you feel happier, it feels sort of very comfortable as well. But if we go into the living room in here, really nice fireplace, again keeping it nice and bright. But one of the things we've done, which is a little bit different but quite subtle, which I personally really like, is the two-tone here, and I think that's allowed the room to sort of have that little bit of character, but without being overbearing and over loud. And again, because this is a rental, you're wanting this to appeal to as much mass market. So unfortunately, while you might not be able to put sort of your blues and your greens and big sort of brash, bold colours, but this subtle difference here works really well. And just this sort of architrave here allows the room to be separated. And again, just adds that little bit of character, which is always really important, and just allows the house to have that little bit of sort of personality, which everyone wants. And I think it's always really good when you're trying to get these particularly higher valuations and for these higher end properties. So what we're going to do now is then go into the kitchen, and then we'll show you the rest of the house and the garage afterwards. So again, kitchen, I think is always personally something I like. For me, I love to cook. Not as big fan of the cleaning side of it, because I tend to make a lot of mess. But I love having bright kitchen, a lot of work surface, a lot of space for people to cook. So you can have your air fryers, you can have your microwaves, you can have everything, your toasters, and you're not going to feel like you're not cramped and where you're going to put stuff. So again, little things like that there, the little thoughts you have to put through, nuances you have to think of when it is this higher end property is really important. Again, you can see the type of finish we went for is quite sort of mass market appeal, but that little bit more premium and that little bit more higher end, which I think you can see is really evident throughout the house. Nice clean finishes, bright, everything's subtle and smooth and works really well. So that personally, I love this house. I'm a big fan of it, and it's one of those ones of where I would love to have it in my portfolio, but it's in investors. But it's been great to work with and great to work with him and finding it, and it's something we're going to continue to do and look to do, build out more. So we're then going to go upstairs. We're going to show you what it's like, and again, trying to always keep, particularly when you're doing this type of property and you're doing really any property, trying to keep your properties smooth, and the consistency throughout it's really important. So that's something we're always really thinking about when I'm working with the build team, and then with their subcontractors they'll use, always speaking to them about trying to keep consistency throughout the property, because it just makes the flow of the house feel really important and it just works really well. And I believe this type of thing, tenants, while they might not actually specify, that's something that they do notice it. So yeah, we'll go on and we can see it up here. So the bathroom in here was actually fairly new when we got it, so it wasn't actually something we done too much with. We just kept it, sort of updated a few of the appliances, fixed it, cleaned it up, little bits and pieces. So it's actually still quite something that's easy enough to do. And I think that's one of the things a lot of people don't realize with refurbs. They go in and think everything needs changed. Not everything does. If things are good, they're working, and they fit the rest of the house and fit what the rest you're going to go for, sometimes you don't need to do anything to it. So this would be your main bedroom. And again, it's a good double-sized bedroom, nice big open windows, lot of light coming in. And again, that's something I'm very keen on in any property I work in, is making sure that they're light. Again, I think now, particularly with people spending more time at home, I know the working from home situation is starting to move more to working back in the office, but it's still a big important element. And anyone, when they're in the house, they want it to be bright, they want it to be light, they want to feel happier when it's there. Everyone knows what it's like to live in a sort of not bright house, to put it politely, and it's just not the same. It's just not as good. You just don't feel as happy. So having brightness in here, and again, one of the things I was talking about before, that ability to appeal to mass market, the smoothness, if you notice, sort of higher end grade LVT floors. So everything like that there is just that taking up that little bit notch when you're going for that higher end market, as sort of I keep talking about throughout this. And then we go into the next bedroom in here, which is probably a bigger bedroom. And so again, that's one of the unique features about this house, that if you wanted to be more sort of sitting at the front of the house, which some people do, you can use this bedroom easy enough. Again, lots of plug sockets around, which is good. Again, those little touches and think points really of when you're actually doing a more higher end house. Again, that's kind of what you have to think about. And again, another room that's sort of bright and can easily be used. You know, you can imagine the parents in here, kid in there, and it works out really well, and everyone's happy, bright, they've got a good size room, and it works out well for them. So we'll go into the last room upstairs, which would be sort of maybe a single bedroom or an office, and then we'll go show you outside, because we've done actually quite a lot of the work out there, and I think it's ended up really well. I imagine a lot of people will use it for an office nowadays, just purely down to the fact of, like I said before, working from home, people like that. And again, it's another one where I think it's a really bright room. I've been in this house multiple times, obviously throughout the refurb process and the purchasing process, and it's just bright. So when I was guiding the investors through it all, that's something that we spoke about. They wanted, I wanted, and it was a good sort of match there of just making sure that this house has all those little elements which they would look for if they were actually buying the house for them, what I would look for, and that's kind of what we're looking at. If you want that sort of better tenant, you have to maybe do those little things that cost a little bit more, but over the long term, it's always worth it. So yeah, let's go outside and we'll show you the garage and we'll show you the garden. I think one of the big differences you always find between sort of your smaller properties and sort of these higher end properties is the actual importance of the garden. Again, if you're paying that little bit more, you're going for that little bit better tenant and so on like that there, the higher end of the market, going for the capital appreciation. A good garden makes a difference. It can really sort of brighten it up. And again, something I always talk about is, can you imagine spending time out here? You know, we are in Northern Ireland. It's not always going to be warm and sunny, but when the days it is, you do appreciate a good garden so much more, and people think about that. So can you have a barbecue out here? Can you imagine kids playing out here? Can you do all those little things like that there that really makes a difference for people's lives, and sort of particularly during the summer, they can go out and enjoy the garden and have a good, nice space to look out at, and that's really important. Again, one of the things we always talk about with gardens, anytime I've worked with an investor, is how manageable is it? Is the garden easy for them to maintain? Because again, tenants don't want to be spending all their time doing it, and I think with this garden it really is. As you can see, it's not the biggest area of grass, but it's a good size area of grass. It's got a nice magnolia tree there when it will come out. It's out blooming, looked amazing, and I think this whole garden has been designed to be like that there. Give them plenty of space to do whatever they want, have sort of the barbecues, the drinks and stuff like that, but also have the nice green area. One of the other bits we've done, which we'll go show you now, is the garage, and I think that's a spot which is class. We've done quite a bit of work in there, sort of tidying up and actually making it a useful space. So we'll come on in and we'll show you it there. So we're in the garage here. One of the things I personally wanted to do, and we spoke about with an investor, is actually making this garage a bit more of a usable space. When we sort of first went in, it was a bit sort of dingy and dark, and you were sort of wondering what you could do with it. And really what we were looking to do is just, like we sort of said, create a usable space for whatever a possible tenant might want for. So one of the things we actually done is we moved the washer dryer out in here. We created a sink sort of workspace area. Again, plenty of sort of storage units in there, and again we've got sort of the floor down, which is a nice bright floor, insulation up top. So again, this is the type of place of where You know, someone could easily use it again as maybe as an office, or use it as somewhere where kids could come out and play, or just really as a space to store stuff, which obviously garage tends to be, I know, but it's that type of thing of where it's that just nicer spot. It allows you to sort of have a lot more things out of your house, which keeps it a lot more minimalistic, which is what people are wanting, what people are looking for. So I really think this is the type of property, with all the little things that we were looking to do, you have to have something like this here. Again, you always want tenants to stay for a long time, so you need to create an environment for them where they want that as well, where they're happy, where they can see as their life grows, this house can grow with them. And that's something we've really thought about, and again, something I personally think about whenever I'm looking at properties, particularly these properties where you are hoping the tenants will stay longer and you're trying to create that type of environment for them. So guys, that's been the tour of the property. Really hope you like it. I've been really happy with the finished product. It's, I think, turned out better than I thought I was going to do. The sort of brightness of it and just those wee touch points we've talked throughout this video about how to sort of elevate this property has come out really, really well. Builders enjoyed working on it. They've been really happy and showing people it. Estate agents have been really excited to get this on the market. But probably by the time this video is out, it'll be on the market, and I'm sure we'll see great feedback from the tenant. Most importantly, obviously, will be the end result, but I'm not really in doubt that we'll get a really good end result, particularly for the investor, and they've been really happy with the process, how smoothly it's went, how all the little points we've went through, and just generally the process of working with them has been really great. They've been really easy to work with, and I'm looking forward to continuing working with them throughout the process and sort of building their portfolio of properties that are similar to this. Again, if you are interested in doing work with me, or interested in just general conversations and seeing how I could help you in sort of your sort of portfolio investing, property portfolio investing journey, feel free to shoot me a DM either on Instagram or through any of our social media channels, including YouTube here. So yeah guys, I really hope you've enjoyed this. I've really enjoyed shooting this. I've really enjoyed the process of doing it. Looking forward to actually getting the tenant in and hoping to have a great time here, which I have no doubt they will do. So yeah, what I would really like, if possible, is if you could like and subscribe to the channel. That really helps us grow, and we're trying to put out a lot of videos here, particularly videos that are going to help you and showing you a lot of what we can do. Again, any questions, feel free to shoot me a DM. So like, subscribe, cheers, and looking forward to speaking to you next time.